Hello, welcome to the 26th day of August 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation. This is a live video exercise that I do every day at around 5:30 a.m. I do this to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which you can read for free at goingalone.org. I also use this time to think about yesterday and how I did with any particularly challenging events. See how I leverage my values to better ends, or how I failed to do so maybe I can improve. I'll go over the 8 objectives of my creed, one of the principles, and then I'll prepare for the coming day. But first, a quick hello to the new subscribers to the channel. It's good to have you. And a quick disclaimer, this is a video journal, so as such, I'm at liberty to talk about anything I wanted for as much time as I want. You can watch and leave comments as you see fit, or criticisms. I'll read and respond to those after I'm done with the main body of this. I do talk about sensitive subjects like death, so just be forewarned if that's an uncomfortable subject for you. And I do want to express my heartfelt gratitude to those who watch my videos, my YouTube members, and my supporters on Patreon. I really do appreciate you. Okay, with that, let's get started. Let's read the notes from yesterday. I have 2 notes here. One says ephemeral release, and the second note says day beyond normal means. Let's explain what that means. Yesterday was a significant day insofar as I gave up the last hope that I could continue operating sales from my 2 online venues, my eBay store and my YouTube store. I had spent the last roughly half a year building back my online presence. I used to be an antique dealer here in Japan when I lived here in from 2003 until about 2008 when the business closed due to the global economic crisis. And then I basically walked away from being an antique dealer for over 20 years. And since I've come back to Japan now and have retired here and was looking for something to do to keep me busy, I fired up the old business. It seems that 20 years away from that abject failure kind of dampened the pain. I guess it's like if you have a bad divorce and then enough time passes, you can meet and have lunch with that person and it doesn't feel the same. Maybe it doesn't hurt quite so much. Well, for me, getting back into antiques, it's not that it didn't hurt. It was actually fun again. You know, I mean, I'd had an amicable divorce. It wasn't the antique business that wiped me out in 2007 and 2008. It was global circumstances. The antiques were still fun, even though I had lost all sense of joy due to the failure of my business. So anyway, I started it up again, and I've spent half a year now building the business back up, only to find myself right back where I was in 2007 with the first thunderclaps of a storm approaching. The tariffs that are going into effect in 3 days in the United States basically wipe out my business. 8 out of 10 of my sales go to American customers. I did try to configure my online venues to exclude American buyers from sales, and it turns out that I couldn't do it. It's all or nothing. So yesterday I finally made and then over the weekend I thought I had it configured so that American buyers couldn't buy. One American buyer bought something over the weekend, which left me in an awkward position yesterday of not being able to, of having to cancel, reach out to the buyer, apologize, and explain that thank you for your business, but I have to cancel your order because they only bought a small little bag of candy, and I can't ship their candy to them only to have the postman demand close to $100, between $80 and $100 to give to Uncle Sam before they'll give over the package of candy. That's not going to work. So rather than ask the customer a ridiculous question, do you want this candy this candy so much that you're willing to pay $100 maybe to get it to the postman? Of course not. And if they do, they're never going to do business with me again. Not because of me necessarily, but because of the bad business in circumstance in which doing business with me would entail. I did look into another option, and I found that that option was not doable either. Another shipping option, basically shipping by a third-party carrier, but the shipping cost involved in that was prohibitively high. So, I don't want to fold that cost into the business, nor do I want to pass that cost along to the customer. So, I chose to shut it down. I sent an email to a customer, explained it to them. They signaled their understanding, graceful understanding, and I canceled the sale. And then I turned around. I went out to lunch, and then as soon as I got back from lunch, I went through and shut down both of my sales venues. That was the big event that happened yesterday. Now, yesterday, it seems like I'm jumping into another thing altogether, but this is important. Yesterday was by far the most difficult day in terms of weather. The heat and the humidity was astonishing yesterday. My wife, who spent the day downstairs in the air-conditioned living room, very comfortable room, was wiped out. She tried to spend some part of the day without air conditioning, but she gave up and turned it on. And even as such, just the few times that we went out for a few errands really wiped her out. She really suffered yesterday. Me? Okay, you're like, Kurt, what way? You're telling us a story about your business, and now you're telling about the weather. It's important. Me, I didn't have air conditioning all day except for the brief time that I went to the supermarket and then the brief time that I had lunch with my father-in-law and my wife over at Dad's house where the air conditioner was running. Other than that, I was exposed to the full brunt of it all day. I'll come back to that, put a pin in that. Back to the story. I came back after lunch, shut everything down, and then I was faced with the full afternoon's onslaught of heat with nothing to do, and the full onslaught of heat. And my business shut down. And that's where these notes come in. Ephemeral release and day beyond normal means. What I should have added was beyond temperature. There were times when I was writing Going Alone. I wrote Going Alone, largely from under a flash flood bridge in the deep Mojave Desert under Route 66, where I would hide from the summer heat. I wrote it over the course of 3 summers, sitting on a lawn chair underneath that bridge in the height of summer in temperatures in excess of 115 degrees on average, with of course, no air conditioning. I'm just sitting under a bridge. The experience of writing the book, which was it was the high point. It was like a high point of my life, writing that book. Something about the desert, the catalyst, the heat, just brought the words forth. I basically wrote this book with almost no contrived effort, and almost every word came out exactly. Anything that you see in here that's in italics, I deliberately did this. Anything that's in italics is I call that, those are the words that I wrote under the influence of the muse, which of course doesn't exist, it's just my mind. But the muse, when I was under the influence of the muse, the words came exactly as they would forever be. I never had to alter them. They came out right the first time. And I still to this day am astonished by that. And probably a good, maybe half of the book was written under the influence of the muse. The rest of the book, it took me 5 years to edit to get the rest of it right. The contrived parts, the muse-inspired parts required no further editing. I edited the book at least a dozen times, reading through the whole thing, adjusting, editing, writing new chapters, switching things around, and never changed a single word, not even a typo, for the muse-inspired sections. Something magical happened under that temperature out in the desert, under the moment of my life, that was captured in the book. That same ephemeral muse sensation came to me yesterday after I shut down the business. I shut down the business, and I sat back in my little room here as the wave of heat just came in on board, and the humidity rose. And initially I thought, I'm going down. This is going to take me out, because I've suffered greatly this past summer, this very summer, due to the heat, but it didn't happen. I kept my mouth shut. In the evening we went for a dog walk, and my wife was just bitterly complaining of her weakness. as a result of the day. And I didn't say it, but I felt like I could march on. By the end of the dog walk, I didn't feel quite that as boisterous or strong. My age definitely did it, but something was unique about yesterday. And I think I crossed over into something. I think I've moved past whatever was this I going on in the last 8 months, struggling to find my way in this new life. I think I passed a Rubicon, if that's a word. I think it is. Isn't that where Napoleon crossed over the point of no return or something like that? River of some sort. Ephemeral release and day beyond normal means. Go over that again. Ephemeral release was closing the business was like this big release. I was like, okay, I'm closing the business with no consequences, right? I mean, there's no consequences to that. I don't have to support a family with that business anymore, so I can do that. I can walk away and do something else. So I'm lucky in that capacity. And then day beyond normal means that all the measurement metrics that I use on a day-to-day basis to measure the quality of the day, I felt like I was beyond all of that. I mean, it doesn't mean that they didn't count. But it was almost like irrelevant to the point. It's like if you were, in the middle of some workaday thing at the house, and they got a balcony overlooking a beautiful view, and your spouse calls to you, and you're busy with the work, and the spouse says, Kurt, come here, see this. And what? But I'm busy. I got a spreadsheet. Okay. You walk out to the balcony, and there's just this spectacular sunset going on. Just the rivals none you've ever seen before. And your wife's there, and she's got a little glass of wine to hand you. She says, come experience this with me. It's possible in that moment that all the metrics of whatever spreadsheet you were working on, all the measures there, maybe you were working on your personal finances or something like that, all that just kind of like, you take flight to a new level, at which point that's kind of no longer relevant. Almost another way to think about it is if you die and suddenly find yourself at the gates of St. Peter, and looks like St. Peter's going to let you in, right? Whatever worries and concerns you had down there on mortal earth, they just kind of become nonsense now. You've made it to the pearly gates. That's how it felt yesterday. I mean, it didn't mean that the things that I normally measure in my life against were no longer important, and I'm not going to stop doing my good life meditation, nor holding myself to the standard that I've created for myself. I'll still do these things, but yesterday, this stuff seemed beyond reach, if not beyond reproach. That's what yesterday was like. A day like I can't say that I've ever experienced ever, not once in my life. It's not the effect. It's not the euphoria that comes of saying I do to your life partner, nor of watching your first child born, or any other great event that it may occur in life. These are more celebratory things. What I experienced yesterday was kind of a passage to a new world of a sort. Now, I don't know if that's going to last. I feel like it could be ephemeral. I feel like it could be a moment in a day. But my suspicion is that I've cogitated enough about it that even if the ephemeral experience passes, there's the cognitive imprint that will remain. And I can, like an etched ruin, a rune, an etched Celtic rune on a stone that, this is interesting. It's got a meaning, I etched that on the day the Norse gods were here. And they told me what it meant, and I etched it. They took their guidance, I etched that. It means thus and thus and so, whatever it was that happened yesterday. I've got that. You know what I've got? Hold on. I've got this thing that I'm going to use to leverage that idea. I think it's right here, maybe. What did I do with it? Give me just a second. Oh, is it here? There it is. I found it. something in my life is suddenly going to take on some meaning. Hold on. Okay. I've got to clean this. I'll take it. I have to clean this up. Okay. Speaking of etched runes, I bought this stone. It's got a sticker on it that I started to take off, but I didn't completely get it off. Let's see if I can get it off now. Kind of peel it off while I explain what it is. Oh, it's coming right off, kind of. Okay. Yeah, I got sticky tape all over my finger. Let's see if I can get this off. Okay, I'll have to clean this up a little bit. So I was at the flea market the other day, a couple weekends ago, maybe it was last weekend, not this very last weekend, but the one before that. And I've got my favorite vendor there. He is my favorite. He's my wife's favorite too, and my sister-in-law's favorite too. There's something of an enigma about him. He shows up at the flea market, and he's got a quiet little booth right dead center in the middle of the whole thing, and he sells. He specializes in clocks. The clock that I've got on my wall, I bought from him, and it's not working, so I'm going to take it in probably next weekend. I take it back to the flea market, and he's going to fix it for me. Anyway, I get a lot of stuff from him because he always has very unusual things, very interesting things. Anyway, I bought this rock from him. Remember the Celtic runes, right? And he explained it to me, and my Japanese, I didn't quite understand. And he spent so long explaining it to me, and I decided to buy it just out of gratitude for the length of time he spent explaining it to me, even though it's not Japanese. It's from Indonesia. It's from an Indonesian temple, and it's a power stone from a power spot. These Eastern cultures often have these power spots. I don't know if the West has those. Anyway, I bought it mainly because he spent 15 minutes trying to tell me all about it, and so I decided to buy it. Didn't plan to sell it. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. It was sitting in my drawer, one of those impulse purchases that, wow, thanks for telling me the long story. I'll buy it. And now what? I don't know. Now I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this to symbolize what happened yesterday. Then I'm going to say that whatever this mark is to remind me of what happened yesterday. I crossed over, if not momentarily, and I still feel it right now. It hasn't passed. I feel like a superpower right now. I'm going to put this right here. And again, these words capture it correctly. Ephemeral release and a day beyond normal means. Now, I don't expect to live another day beyond normal means. In fact, I don't want to live a day beyond normal means. That's not the deliberate life I want to live. But I do want to remember propelling myself beyond whatever standard or measure I've been holding myself to. This also might be a result of the realization I had a few days back that I had retired from my vocation, but I had not yet given up my avocation, which was my life's work. And I wrote my book, I raised my daughter, my avocation is done. So both my vocation, my career, and my avocation, my daughter and my book are done. If I really want, I can push on into something else and embrace having fun, just enjoying the rest of my life. What a novel idea. What a strange and novel idea. The quest may be over. Doesn't mean I'm not going to work hard. There's a lot of, pain in the world that can use a little attention, a little effort. And so I'll continue to make these videos. This is, in a way, my effort to share a methodology, a way of living that seems to work. Okay, enough about all of that for yesterday. It was a very good day. My creed consists of 8 objectives and 35 principles. The 8 objectives, which I'll enumerate right now, are as follows. Number 1, to be always ready. And I'm not going to measure them. Like I said, yesterday was beyond measure. 1, to be always ready to die. To have my affairs, my relationships, and my life's work in order or complete. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time. Number 3 is to develop and maintain good and sound life principles. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions. Number 5 is to perform good actions relative to my values. Number 6 is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities. So that number 7 is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. And number 8 is to maintain my balance in both body and mind. Now, as for one of my principles, yesterday I read The Home of Good and Evil, which I think is principle number 4. Actually, that's number 5. Today I'm going to read the principle of purpose, number 6 on page 255 of the hardbound edition. The principle of purpose has 4 sub-principles: biology, with a capital B, that's important, duty, virtue, and mission. Biology with a capital B, to talk about it almost as like an entity, that biology has like a mandate and a mission for us. In fact, the mission of biology is the only authentically objective purpose that I believe exists, which is the mandate that life gives us to make more life. And here's a quote: "Active in indolence, abroad who roam, in quest of happiness which dwells at home, with vain pursuits fatigued, at length will find, its real dwelling is a virtuous mind." That's by Dr. Zimmerman. Let's read the principle. The principle of purpose. My first purpose is to live and reproduce, before then dying and getting the hell out of the way. I will also perform my duty, 30 years of life dedicated to improved societal ends, as well as 25 years of service to my kid, which work is largely complete when she is done with school. I forgot that I put that. I remember the 25 years of service, which I changed to 23 elsewhere. I realized there's a bit of a disjoint there in the book. That's okay. But I had forgotten about the 30 years of societal service. That's interesting. If I hold myself to that measure, then I'm indeed finished. Beyond that, it is up to each of us to decide what our own personal purpose will be. For myself, I select the purpose of virtue, where virtue is defined as a life lived in furtherance of the well-being of thinking things, and my mission is the series of goals I set for myself to achieve over the successive years of my life. Well, that last bit leaves it quite open, right? I can continue to live a virtuous life, but virtuous life doesn't mean I can't have hobbies. I can pursue virtue while fishing. All right, next 24 hours, what am I going to do today? Well, I have a doctor's visit. I have a cataract in my left eye, and I'm going to get the pre-surgery checkup today to get my eye examined this afternoon. So I'll take care of that. Comments. Good morning, Tim. Weather check there in the UK at 9:35 p.m. is 22.4 degrees and 42% humidity. Dry, hot, maxed at 33 C. 22.4 currently and 42% humidity. For me, Tim, it's currently 25 degrees and 85% humidity. Still green on the temperature, about to go into the red zone, and high on the humidity. I think the humidity is going to stay high. It's going to be another tough day. Thanks for sharing your stats in the UK. Hello, Marmite. Good to see you. Hello, Kurt. Wishing you a peaceful morning. Thank you. Tim says, sorry you've closed your sites down, although why not just keep the fourth wall site ticking over? It can't do any harm. Well, actually it can, because I can't configure fourth wall to exclude sales to the United States. I can't configure eBay or fourth wall to exclude sales from the United States. So it's all or nothing, right? If I leave either of them up and running, then people from the United States will continue to buy on both sites. So I can keep the fourth wall site items up, which is what I plan to do. So they'll simply show us, everything will show us sold out. In which case I've basically created a museum of Japanese antiques and merchandise. And I'm going to continue to list and add to it with the anticipation, hope maybe, that one day the tariffs may ease or go away, although that hope is kind of diminishing a little bit. I think they might, especially the de minimis clause in America, which allows items under a particular dollar amount, in this case $800, to pass through duty free. I think that's what's going away, and I think that may never come back. So I might just be fostering a museum of Japanese merchandise. Tim says, the weather here has lured me into a false security. Heat wave, then nice. A cool the past week, then today, back in the low 30s and back to feeling drained. Disappointed as working on the fitness. I hear ya. Yeah, I know what you mean. All it takes is one tough afternoon. Although, what the hell happened yesterday? What is it that allowed me to pass like Caesar yesterday through the crowd? Parting ways with. I mean, I felt so good, even in spite of the fact that it was a really tricky day. Something extra biological, not extra biological. Something mind over matter was going on with me yesterday that was a consequence of the release and the sense of peace that came of closing my business. The muse is also your bodyguard. William, hi William. Hey Kurt, have you ever thought about revisiting Stoic poetry? I have, but the muse isn't there anymore. I literally over the weekend, in fact, I was sitting down and I tried to write a poem. It just wouldn't come. The words weren't there anymore, which is exactly what had happened when I was writing the book. Right, the words would come, and I would write them down, and it was almost like they were coming from somewhere else. And I wrote them once, never had to edit them again, never had to correct anything. I just lost it. It's gone. Again, and so, Heather, hi Heather. Good to see you, Heather. You just saw my post on Facebook. Probably you're referring to my post that I just did about closing my business and preemptively doing so. Yeah. Hi Brian. Just watched your last video and talking now about beginning to lose your aversion to hobbies. Think you nailed it in words nicely. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I think my aversion to hobbies was because I thought it was like I got work to do, right? It's like I was like some employee, overly zealous employee at Taco Bell who, the staff are saying, "Hey, there's no customers here for a minute. Let's come out here and chat for a bit." I'm like, I can't possibly do that. I'm on the clock, right? I'm going to find the mop and I'm going to go mop the dining room. It's like, everybody knows that guy. That guy exists. I'm that guy. Maybe, though, my work is actually done. It's not that I've just got a break at Taco Bell. Taco Bell is friggin' closed, right? It's been closed for my vocation, my work for 8 months. What I had not realized that my avocation, the thing, the decided purpose that I wanted in life, which is the raising of my daughter and the writing of my book, that's also done too. Maybe I really can go outside and have a little fun with the gang. Tim says, I can say retirement gives you the opportunity in doubling the enjoyment of life, where for me personally, half of the enjoyment was not fulfilled in my working life due to dulling pressures. Wait, I feel like I need to read this again. I can say retirement gives you the opportunity in, do you mean doubting or doubting? Doubling? Doubling the enjoyment of life, I guess by having free time, where for me personally, half of that enjoyment was not fulfilled in my working life due to dulling pressures. I think what you're referring to, Tim, if I understand right, is the fact that the dulling effect that work had due to the stress was like muffling even your free hours, right? Couldn't enjoy them because of being so wiped out from work. That's my best. I think I'm trying to interpret what I think you meant there. Tim goes on. I think also that where the inner peace now kicks and the at ease feeling, just living for the moments in retirement. That I also think that's where the inner peace now kicks and the at ease feeling, just living for the moments. I'm not sure I understand that. Saying that just the peace comes in the moments and opportunities that are present themselves. There's whiskey. Long time no see, whiskey. I sincerely think the first principle, or objective as you called it today, should be the last one. I do realize you may have written this into a book, but you can always have a second edition. The first principle is the principle of war. The first objective is the objective of to be always ready to die. So I'm not sure which of those you're referring to. Is it the first objective, always ready to die, to be dead, or the first principle, the principle of war? And I don't think I really mentioned either of those two. Oh, I did. I enumerated them, didn't I? Yeah, I did. You're right. So those would be the objectives. Those are the objectives of the 8 that I enumerate as well. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Hello, Heather. It's 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's the red zone. Yeah, man. That is hot in California. But in California, without the humidity, it's not. It's a different type of heat, as we all know, right? Whiskey says, I have a cataract too. One eye doctor suggested an operation until I realized that's how she makes her money. Another two said it's not necessary until you are really 70 to 80 years old and a spectacle. So I had a cataract in this right eye and everything was a little bit blurry. And that was about 4 years ago and I had the surgery. I have perfect vision now in that eye. It's really good. And so it was a very successful surgery. And then at the time, the doctors at the time said I had a cataract starting up in my left eye, and they said, a few years down the road, Kurt, you're probably going to need a surgery in your left eye. Sure enough, exactly like they said. Now my left eye is, if I do this, everything's blurry. It's like someone smeared Vaseline over it, and which is exactly what my right eye was like before I had the surgery. So that's what I'm going to have fixed now. My experience with the cataract surgery was phenomenal. It was like a night and day difference. Heather says, if we see a sold out item, are we able to contact you and try to work out something? Yes, you are. I'm able to click a button and make that item available for sale. However, Heather, if you do that, when the item arrives, whatever it is, the postman is going to ask you for something between $80 and $100. They're going to hold the package hostage until you give them like $80 to $100 to give to Uncle Sam. So you won't. It's going to cost you that much more on top of it. Now I know, Heather, you've bought from me in the past, and you and I have done business. So if you were to see something you like, I'd be more than happy to make that arrangement with you. I just don't want. The reason I shut the business down was I don't think most of my customers are going to be happy, even if we talk about it up front. They're not going to be happy, when that happens. So that's one way around that. Of course, is a big bulk purchase, and that's what I'm on the back end talking to other merchants here in Japan that are going to try to stay alive through this, and they're switching their business model to bulk orders. So that's one way. Buy a big, buy 5 or 7 bags of tea, at once or something like that. But then the trouble is, it's not as fresh, right? So what about that 7th bag, 6 months out? But yeah, you just let me know, and I'll be happy to sell anything you want to, Heather, if you see it. Tim says, oh, okay, that's a shame if constrained in configuring the site. It seems a shame that you always describe the item so well and put a lot into it. Well, thank you, Tim. The items will still be out there perfectly described, but all that will happen is all that work remains. It will be out there. It'll be a museum, so that people will be able to come, and whereas they'll look at, oh, this is an interesting item, here's all this stuff, where there used to be a price sticker, it just says out of stock. But like Heather said, I can just click a button and that auto stock gets replaced with the price. So the bad thing is you don't see what the actual price is. If you'd have to ask me and say, what's the price on that thing? And if someone does it, I'll just tell them what the price is, right? Because I'm not going to jack up the price just because you can't see it. Tim's apologizing for the heat. I know what it's like. See, we slur our words. I think I was trying to say probably more time now to enjoy life now in retirement, more fulfilling times now. Yeah, if we can leverage it, that's my perspective, right, Tim? I mean, the time can become a weighty burden, like I think it is for my father-in-law. I mean, and a lot of the old people around here, they're just kind of now, they're just kind of just waiting down the hours for death. It's like it's kind of a scary thing to see. The freedom can be too much once you feel like life is like you've done everything you wanted to do. Ooh, watch out, because what was I saying earlier? That I'd done everything I wanted to do. I better find a hobby. I'm really ankling, no pun intended, ankling towards fishing. And there's a fishing store just down the road. Whiskey says, okay, where was the cataract surgery done? I did it at an eye surgery institute in Southern California. in and out, surgery in a day. It was, if you don't mind me, it was truly an amazing experience. I had a fantastic doctor. That's all she does is she's an eye doctor, and well, she was referred to me after a normal ophthalmologist. Is that what an eye doctor is? Diagnosed me with a cataract. Referred me to this woman who is the surgeon. She then did her preliminary work to prepare for the surgery, and then she does the way it works is she at the surgery center, which is just a dedicated surgery center in Southern California. It's all they do is eye surgeries every day, and they show up, and then the surgeons all show up, and the patients all show up. It's like an assembly line, person after person after person after person after person, and the doctors show up and they do like one after another. They literally go from one patient, do the surgery, go to another patient, do the surgery. And so I got in there and I got laid down, and I had like 10 people lined up in rows, and the doctor came, and I was the first one I got lucky, I was the first one. And she came up to me, and I wasn't under general. I was totally awake during the surgery, and she just came in there. I could see it all, right, because it's in my eye, right. I was all done. She went on, moved on. Thanks, next. It was like fast food. Went on to the next person, and freaking, it was like those movies where like they unmove the bandages, and then suddenly everything's crystal clear. I can see again. That's exactly what it was like. She was fantastic. Sorry, I'm going on giving you more information than you asked for. Heather says 28% humidity in Cal. Gotta love the dry heat. 28 humidity. Oh my gosh, that's really nice, Heather. Yeah, gotta love that dry heat. Post office jail, Heather. Yeah, it kind of does. Now, some of the vendors, Heather, the more sophisticated platforms are able to actually somehow take that duty up front, which to me seems more problematic, because at least in the situation with the postman doing it, I can feel like if I sell something to a customer, I can tell them, it's not me. I'm not taking your $80, because literally it's the post office that's going to ask for it. So at least I don't feel like the criminal, But some of these vendors, and I'm talking to, they're like, oh, we're going to take it up front, and we're going to figure out a way to do it in a way, because if you ship by like DHL or FedEx or something like that, then it's actually a little bit less. It's like 15% of the tariff, but the nearest DHL office for me is 100 kilometers away. We don't have one here in Shizuoka, and then furthermore, I looked at it, and the cheapest you could do with the FedEx is still for a bag of tea is going to be 77,000 yen, which is like $50. It's just too much. I'm just not going to put my customers through that. So no, yeah. Post office jail. Awesome, I'll let you know. Okay, thanks, Heather. Tim says, that's the big surprise I found, though, in retirement, as time just seems to fly by, days, weeks, etc. It's a strange feeling. Isn't it? It's literally like going over the top of the roller coaster, right? Gotcha. Tim raising her hands up, yay, we're free, and then flop down through the other side, right? And what day is it today? It's Saturday, right? No, it's Tuesday. And it's fun when it's good, but it's draining when it's not. Marmite says, do you feel you have arrived in the sense that your life work has led you here? Yes, exactly. I wouldn't feel this way if I hadn't felt like I earned for two things. And I think I'll get a hallelujah from Tim too. First, I earned the retirement, the monetary part, right? I really, really feel like I put in am I hearing a hallelujah from Tim? Because he and I both, and maybe others are in the likewise situation. I mean, I really, really, for 40 friggin' years, put my back into everything and really worked hard. So yeah, I'm one of those old guys that's like, I earned my pension, I earned my Social Security, I saved all that money, Yeah, so that's for sure. The other thing, but the one that maybe you were asking about that I didn't say first is that I arrived by finishing this damn book, quieted the stuff, the voice that was in my head for all of my adult life and much of my adolescence, saying, Kurt, you're gotta do something in this life. You gotta make something. You gotta make a mark in the world or something like that. For whatever reason, right? Usually it's a selfish reason of trying to seek after some sense of immortality. That did the job. But most important, every time I see my daughter, and I realize the good woman that she's grown to be, and that I played a part in that, it feels like I did my duty. that I have arrived. So yeah, in every sense of the word, Marmighty, I feel like I have arrived, but I don't want to be resting on my hands while there's still good work to do, right? Tim says, in many ways, I'm glad time passes quickly as it was my main retirement dread, and in other words, fulfilling time. That's interesting, Tim. Do you feel that way? Like if you feel like you've got nothing to do, like, hmm, like I can't. I'm not good at entertaining myself, and so if I don't have, like a full afternoon spread out before me, and I got nothing to do, that's a little bit challenging. I envy people that have stuff to do. Can turn to things to do. Like my wife can turn to a puzzle. Like she can open up a box of go down buy a puzzle box, and spend while away the hours on a puzzle, enjoying the time greatly, having a cup of tea. It's just, I mean, it looks like heaven. I don't know how people do that. Evelyn says, we do spay neuters like your eye procedure. Is that right? You just laying out the dogs one after another, one after another. And speaking of which, Evelyn, I bet I get a hallelujah from you. I mean, you spent your life, your working life, very well engaged, making the life of animals better, or at least easing the pain of life, right? I mean, you have working with animals the way you do, one of the most challenging yet rewarding positions there possibly could be. Royal Blood, first time I've seen your name. Welcome. I'm really sorry to hear about your business. Hopefully it gives you some time to focus on a fun hobby and something positive comes of it. I hope so too. And I know Evelyn's looking at me strange right now. She's saying, there's that word hobby again, Kurt. Evelyn, I'm turning the corner. I'm turning the corner. Hobby isn't going to be, I think hobby's not going to be a dirty word for me anymore. So, Royal Blood, I'm not saying anything disparaging about your comment. It's just that for a long time, the idea of a hobby in my life is something that I've really pushed against because I didn't think it was a good use of time, and I'm changing my tune. Whiskey, how bad is the other eye, if I can ask? Is it so blurry as you cannot read? Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I just closed my right eye, everything, I can't read the rest of your comment now. Just right there. It literally is like someone took a Vaseline and smeared it over my eye. I can make out rough figures of everything. And that's exactly how my other eye was before. But if I do this with this eye right now, crystal clear. Everything is crystal clear with my right eye. The cataract surgery worked perfectly. Now, maybe it has to do with the quality of the doctor. I don't know. I mean, I had a really good doctor, so I don't know. Trying to assess my situation. And I was definitely anxious about it going into it, whiskey. I'm very anxious about it. I was very hesitant to do it. And results never vary. Tim says, yes, definitely, Kurt. 42 years and knackered, and I was probably going insane. LOL, Tim. So, Tim, I think that you and I, and maybe Evelyn and others who are retired at our age, that did our duty, right? This is a different type of a liberation that might come from someone perhaps that wins the lottery at age 21 and gains their freedom that way, right? That's a different type of thing. In that way, it's kind of, and I kind of went through that when I was a dot-commer and I got $1 million in my mid-30s, right? I didn't feel like I had earned that freedom. There was a weight and kind of a guilty, almost a depression that came from feeling like I had cheated my way in a way, even though I hadn't, right? I felt like I hadn't earned it. Now I totally feel like I earned my freedom. I just don't know always what the hell to do with myself. There's Robert saying hi to everybody. And Julie BBB, good to see ya. Hi, for me, those seemingly mindless activities is usually my best time to think about the big questions. See, I'm taking notes, Julie BBB. I think, that's really interesting to me to hear that, because I have a bad impression of hobbies as just as wasting time. And I need to hear from people like you to hear that you're using that time to be able to focus on big questions. Because the idea of focusing on big questions is really interesting to me, although I'm starting to think that maybe I've had enough of that. Maybe I just want a hobby for the sake of the distraction in the hobby. Tim says, I think that's the secret. If I have nothing to do, I find something to do. Anything that gives me some fulfillment. Taking notes, Tim. Julie BBB and Tim, I'm taking notes. What about the t-shirt then? I'm probably not going to do it. That's funny that you mentioned that. I had Evelyn and I had talked about a t-shirt that says no hobbies for this guy. I showed it to Yumiko, but I don't think I'm going to do it because I don't think it applies anymore. I think I'm literally going to start looking for something to do. Any suggestions? Fishing comes to mind. Current weather in Napanee, Ontario is 21 degrees C and 57% humidity. Air quality is 23. Isn't that down from 20? Wasn't your AQI 26 yesterday, Robert? Well, so is lower better? I don't know. 21C. 21C. Nice green and 57 humidity. Oh, you're green all around. Beautiful. As long as the air is good, you've got beautiful weather, Robert. Moto FM. Hey, I haven't seen your name, but your name sounds familiar. I don't know why, but it's the first time I recall seeing you, but something about your name sounds familiar. Are you still thinking about buying an Akia on the mountainside? Yes, definitely thinking about buying an Akia on the mountain. Still, basically a place to retreat to in the summer. I'm definitely, and you know what? Maybe that's what I ought to be doing, is going out into the mountains, searching for that Akia. A place that we don't have to worry about earthquake readiness. We don't have to worry about, fixing it up or anything like that. Just a place to go retreat to on summer weekends, in a good enough shape so the roof's not leaking or falling in, but, nothing I don't have to worry about, like, earthquake retrofits or anything. Tim says hi to Robert. Shigeru Katsushiro. Hello. Konnichiwa. Ohayo gozaimasu. Good morning, Softy Daddy. I can hear the morning insects in the background. We have the same natural soundtrack. Greetings from Nagano. Hey, down in Nagano. It's good to see you. I don't think I've seen your name here before. Welcome. Hope you have a good day down there in Nagano. Or up there in Nagano. I don't know where Nagano is. Heard of it, but I don't know where it is. Robert says, hey, Moto FM and Shigeru. Tim says, unsure how I would feel if I won the lottery at an early age. Interesting thought on how life would have evolved, Tim. Yeah, it's nasty. If being a dot-comer millionaire is anything like winning the lottery, it led to a nasty place. I became an asshole. My wife didn't like me anymore, and I was a prick. I don't like that guy. Hi, 3OD. Are you talking about 3 old dudes? Wow, boy, Moto FM. You must remember the old days if you're talking to Robert, referring to him as 3OD. That's an old title, huh, Robert? Probably broke by 30. Yeah, probably. Royal Blood says, yeah, I've been a bit of a lurker for a while. I used to go by Hideki, and I was the one that painted your profile picture. Actually, what? I've always quietly enjoyed your videos throughout the years. You're the one that painted the profile picture that I use absolutely everywhere. I have it actually saved, that image saved on my device as avatar. It is me. That's you, Royal Blood? Thank you so much. That is really, really, that's my favorite painting of all. If you haven't seen, guys, the profile picture that's used on almost everything is me. Isn't a photo. It's based on a photo, but it was actually a profile. It's actually a painting by Royal Blood. Royal Blood, if you would be so kind to, I don't know where you live, but if you're not in the United States because of the tariffs, if you're somewhere else, I would, even if you want, or even if you're in the United States, I would like to send you some tea, as some green tea, as an appreciation for what you did for me all those years ago, which I've made great use of it ever since. If you're not in the United States, if you could just maybe if you want to, send me an email at dinnerbytheriver@gmail.com, and we can talk. Because I've always been very grateful for what you did, and I would love to send you some green tea. Problem right now is that the tariffs mean that you'll be charged $80 to $100 by the postman if you get it in the United States. So maybe we can take a rain check on that until the tariffs lift. But I would like to do something for you, and I would like to be in contact with you. So because I really do appreciate what you did all those years ago. Thank you, Royal. Julie says, you might like deep sea fishing out on a boat. I might, but that means I would have to go out on a boat with other people. I definitely don't want to be I definitely don't want to do anything that involves socializing. That's why I like fishing, the idea of fishing. Go sit on a rock. Evelyn will agree. Evelyn will be right there with me. Sitting on a rock all alone with a line in the water, right, Evelyn? That sounds pretty good. Or doing something alone, sketching, but not on a boat with other people. Not anything that I have to talk to people and say, hey, how's the fishing? None of that, please. Moto FM, I've been watching and commenting sporadically on your channel since 2011. No kidding. Yeah, your name seems familiar. You're another name from that kind of resurrects from the past. It's good to see you again. Thank you. Robert says, Moto FM, I'm still locked out of the original Believe in Yourself YouTube channel. Had the 2-factor I know that's happened to me too as well. So you're referring to, I guess, the original uh, uh, three old dudes, right? I knew you were going to say no to other people. Yeah, no hobbies that involve, no hobbies that involve groups. No, thank you. I draw the line at that. I may take up a hobby, but it's got to be something solo hobby, right? No line dancing for me. Well, everybody, I better stop. I got 10 minutes. I got 10 minutes before radio exercise. Robert says, Evelyn, setting boundaries is healthy. Yep. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Be safe, but not too safe. And I hope to hear from you, Royal. Send me an email, dinnerbytheriver@gmail.com. I'd like to send you something in appreciation for your past efforts. Bye-bye.